Welcome to the Upper Midwest Telehealth Resource Center webinar. We have with us today some folks from GeoHealth Innovations. They're going to talk about their Telehealth Connect product. This is something that the National Consortium of Telehealth Resource Centers, all 14 of the individually federally funded telehealth resource centers, have collaborated on, and is a database that can prove very useful. And we need your help to get your data populated. So with no more further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Steve.
Excellent. Thank you, Becky. My name is Steve Sedlock. I'm the Executive Director for GeoHealth Innovations and the publisher of Telehealth Connect. And with me today are Sandy Friedman from GeoHealth Innovations and Max Irwin, who is joining our team as part of our Telehealth Connect expansion team. And they're mostly here to listen to some of the questions that you may have or your comments, but they might also interject some important information as we go through. So the agenda you see there, that is the road that we're taking in this 1-hour webinar. We're going to look at kind of the beginnings and the overall purpose of the application. We'll do a demonstration. We'll show you some ways on how it can work for you, and then we'll get into some questions and discussion. We've termed the application Telehealth Connect the landscape of telehealth. And that is essentially what we've tried to accomplish, be able to understand where providers are, understand where, what the environment is for investment and granting and reimbursement. So that is kind of the reason why we got involved here. We launched in the fall of 2017. We started back in 2012 in the Mid-Atlantic region. And then in around 2014, we expanded to the Northeast. And starting, when we launched the full national application in 2017, we expanded to the entire U.S. and the Pacific Rim. So we have gone from just working in the state of Virginia to bringing in all 50 states and the territories in the Pacific, as well as the District of Columbia. So what is the part of this piece of the presentation is going to talk about the purpose. You have the ability to view telehealth provider sites that are in our database across the entire country. You also have the ability to add and update new sites or existing telehealth provider sites to get with the most important, keep the information for each site up to date. And you can do that, and we'll show you the links on how to do that and where to add, and if you're an existing site, where to update. The tools that are utilized in Telehealth Connect are very standard, similar to what you would find in Google Maps, or any other kind of online application. So these are accepted standards in line with what we utilize with Telehealth Connect. You can select sites and filter them and search them by state or multiple states, specialty or multiple specialty, hub, and then also you can select and filter by distance based on an address that you put in, or a zip code, or a city. You can select individual sites just using a simple mouse click. You can visit a telehealth provider site's website, navigate the map to user-provided street addresses, and you can also utilize this application, Telehealth Connect, to find patient referrals. Additionally, you can determine the telehealth equipment funding environment. If there are whether their eligibility of for investment into telehealth equipment and telehealth facility. That layer is in Telehealth Connect and can be viewed geographically and can be clicked on to get more information about the grant funding environment. Telehealth Connect allows you to produce maps and lists that you can put in applications or educational materials or grants or any kind of just documentation that you need to have. And we'll show some materials on that. The application also allows you to click to determine Medicare reimbursement environment. And I'll show an example of that. It's important that where Medicare will reimburse for telehealth services, that that could be an opportunity or for an expansion of telehealth in a particular area, and we'll show that. We have integration with Facebook and Twitter, and you can do site research, including any kind of current telehealth, looking at an area and their current telehealth environment in a particular region, and potentially look at expansion planning if you're a health system or a group practice or whatever environment that you operate your health services in. View broadband, obviously that's a big driver of telehealth services. That will be coming soon. We have a broadband coverage for the entire US showing the fiber optic coverage for the United States, cable modem, and all the different types of technology that are part of the broadband infrastructure in the country. We're also going to be adding other government programming layers, including the FCC's USAC program and the USDA distance learning program, all of which can be shown in a geographic framework and be clicked on and get more information. So I'll do a head toward the demonstration. If there are any questions, Becky will alert me to them. We'll take a quick pause just in case there are questions while I move toward the application.
As a reminder, you can use the Q&A function in the bottom window of your Zoom window to ask questions.
Okay, so this is the app. It can be found at telehealthconnect.org. And I can click on our providers and see the coverage that we have so far in the 7 to 8 months that we've been live. So far we have about 900 facilities, and we can zoom into a particular area. And this is just an area along the East Coast. And I can click on a site. And there is a site that we have. It's Children's Hospital of Richmond in their Fredericksburg Therapy Center. You can see that information just by clicking on it. So when I simply clicked on the point of their location, I was able to bring up their information, their address, contact info, the setting type, outpatient clinic, and what they do. And particularly of interest is what specialties they're working with. And this is, they're providing telehealth services in the areas of genetics, nutritional counseling and dietary services, and surgery.
Steve, this is Becky. How long has this Telehealth Connect database been live on the East Coast?
So on the East Coast, we've started in 2012 with Virginia. In 2013, we expanded to the 8 states that are, I think that is the correct number, that are 8 states and the District of Columbia that are in the Mid-Atlantic region. We expanded out into the Northeast in 2014. So I would say in terms of the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic region, we've been going at this since about 2014.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. So there you get some basic information just by navigating around the map and clicking. And again, that's just the basic tools are available there. You can also overlay, and I have this overlaid as the grant eligibility layer that comes out of HRSA, and it's also enabled with Medicare eligibility. So I'll narrow the lessen the view so that you can see the background. But say I'm interested in expansion, or I'm interested in adding telehealth to a particular area and I wanted to know the grant environment, well, I can simply just click on an area, and what comes up is these green check marks all indicate that Medicare telehealth would be reimbursed by Medicare, and that particular area and location is eligible for rural health grants. And I can click on these individual
Looks like we're frozen here for a minute. See if everybody comes back.
And again, there's just simple navigation tools, up plus minus, and just moving around, and off we go. So I'm going to turn off that eligibility layer for now and talk a little bit more about our filtering capability. So say I wanted to update, say I want to just filter by state, I could just select the state of Virginia and just only Virginia sites are shown. I could add North Carolina if I would like, as well as Kentucky. So you can do one state or multiple states. And what happens with that filter is that not only do you get the visual representation, but in the card file list below, you've got all of those sites that are of that filter. So right now in the listing here below, you can do a, you can see all of those sites that meet that criteria. I could also limit to what we have with regard to hospitals and health systems. So I can add that to our filter. So these 3 states, and only those that are hospitals and health systems now appear. The filter, the map changes and the filter changes.
Steve, could you also talk about the transparency layer?
So this layer right here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You can slide. So one of the things that we do with this transparency layer is that this is the layer for rural health grant eligibility with the Medicare eligibility. And what you're allowed to do, since it does block out quite a bit of information in terms of the background of your map, you can move this slider to make it 40% transparent, 50% transparent, or all the way to 100% transparent if you wanted. But that slider tool is available there to allow you to subtly see the grant eligibility layer while still viewing your provider sites. And I'll leave that on just for a little bit here. So I can also filter So right now I've got those 3 states and only those that are hospitals and health systems. I can also filter based on a specialty. So only those that are out of those, the initial 3 state hospitals and health systems, I can also just look at psychiatry and mental health. So that narrows the list even further. And again, you've got a listing down below. I can export this map. If I wanted, and then just right click to insert it in a document, just do a copy image, save image, whatever you'd like to do, and insert it into your document. And I can also take this and do a export of a list. And what happens is that I get to a spreadsheet. Just click through that initial warning. And here's a listing of the 23 sites that meet that criteria. Which you could insert or save for your own purposes or send off to somebody else for their information. All right, I will. So then after you're done and you've done that, you can always just do a reset and it'll zoom you back to the entire country and get some additional, you can restart and head back again. Just to give you some, we can actually do region. We've got the Mid-Atlantic, and that is displayed as there. You can do the Northeast, and we can display there. And I have some, I'm going to show you what we've got so far in the upper Midwest, and kind of talk a little bit about how we give some ideas on how to get our database up and running and really solid and robust in the Northeast region. Excuse me, in the upper Midwest. And then you can just do a reset, and you are back. Going back to this list, you can always filter and, you can sort by the facility name. You can do it by the state name or the setting type, just to be able to view things. And it just sets it up so that it allows you to sort. Another tool that we have, and just to give you a quick guide, we have support here. You can request support via email. You can read our user guide. The biggest tool is a tutorial that lasts about 5 minutes. That gets you through quite a bit of what tools you need to get started. And we have another tool tutorial on how to add facilities to the region. But right now I'm going to jump over to the filter by location. And I can type in, and here I can type in a address, I can type in a city, I can type in a zip code. I'm going to go ahead and type in an address. And I'll do, say, a 40-mile radius and do a search. And that shows the sites that are within 40 miles of that address. You can obviously see that map, but then you can scroll and get information about which they are and what their specialties are and what their settings. This one is a correctional facility. Cardiology at this particular site. And right on through. And obviously you can zoom to the, or click on a link and head to that website and get more information in detail about who, what, and where. So, I'll do our reset, but that we can do that by zip code, just by city. That allows for that. One of the more interesting tools in terms of a visualization that we've brought to the application is the visualization for hub and spoke network. And the University of Virginia Center for Telehealth, I can click on that and see here's the center of that. That's where the UVA Center for Telehealth is, and all of their spokes that are surrounding them and who they're connected to, and a listing of all of them. We also have one for, in terms of the Virginia hubs, we can do the VCU. I think that one's, yep, that one also has connections and spokes out to it. So VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, has really worked to provide telehealth and telemedicine to the correctional population. That's kind of a niche that they've developed. So and then I can always reset and move all the way back and start over. I'll hit on a couple of our links. We've got a user guide that you can read, fairly simple, straightforward, one page. You can request support just by sending an email. This is the link where you have our video tutorials. And then we have our ad updates, and then another tutorial on how to add a site. So those are some of the links. Now I can show you how to add, and we've got a fairly simple process for adding. You can simply go and type in information, and that is something we need to work on. But we have the ability to just take your information, contact facility, name, website address, and just information. You can just put in, and you can pick the specialties that a provider is offering. And telemedicine specialties go into in detail in terms of clinical services. We also have telerehab, whether it's physical therapy or other types of therapy. And the women's specialties you can choose from gynecology, OB-GYN, OB, family planning, and parentology. And then all you need to do is simply submit, and we receive it, we vet it for accuracy and for legitimacy, and within about 3 business days it goes up to our it goes up to the Telehealth Connect site. So, and then you can add or update another one. You can also with this, not with this specific tool, but if you have a list of providers that you want to get into it, we have a spreadsheet template that allows you to enter that data into a template and we upload it. So that's available if you have batch uploads. We can update facilities as well. And this is pretty easy. You can add information and update it. So say I wanted to do just, I can add the Cleveland Clinic. Let's see if I can actually check on this. This might actually be something that we need to double check on. So right now that little thing is not operating the way I want, but that's the way it goes sometimes. You can actually type in a name, say Cleveland Clinic or Southern Illinois Hospital, University Hospital, and it will type in and it will populate itself. And everything from that site will be put in. And then you can update it and change it as you like. If you have a new website address, or if you have a new email address, or new contact, new specialties that you want to announce, you can add all that information in. So that's how that works. So one of the reasons, and we've, and this is an important webinar for us, but you can, we can look at things based on the Telehealth Resource Center. And right now, in the upper Midwest, if I was to filter just for those are the sites that we have. And we've got a total of 7. And we want to update, we want to, we've only been live 7 or 8 months, so there's no shame here. We're just trying to get things rolling and look for opportunities for providers to add their data. I'm going to have Max talk a little bit about some of the ideas that he's come up with, or one of the ideas that we're really excited about to incentivize providers to add their data. But we're looking for data to be added, and working with the TRCs is an important part of that. We have some other entities where we're working on the federal side to get telehealth provider data using MPI numbers, and we're working on that as well. But right now we got about 7 sites, so you can click on each of these, like Cleveland Clinic and all the specialties that they have, and go to their website.
Steve, maybe I missed it. What if there's, we need to add a specialty?
So if you have a specialty that's not on our list, we need to know about it. Usually the way we work in terms of adding specialties is we have an advisory group that reviews all the different specialties that we have. So essentially, if you were to submit to us a support request, we would add that as to be reviewed by the advisory board on whether to add a specialty. That's the way it works today. I believe, and Max can probably help us out at some point, but we're looking to having the ability for people to add their own, additional specialties to the web, to Telehealth Connect. We need to, obviously, based on spelling and capitalizations and other things, have things standardized, but that is something that we will eventually work on. So for now, if you suggest a new specialty, we can, we will work through it, through that process I just described.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, I should note that, it can be cumbersome to add providers one at a time. So if you have a list in a type of spreadsheet or text file or database or anything, we'd be happy to import that for you, do a bulk import, and get that rolling. We're in the process. We just got a bunch of providers from the state of California that we're working on importing, so we'll have that in the next day or two. But that's, filling all that out manually one by one can be cumbersome. So please let us know if you have a list, and we'll be happy to do that for you.
That's an excellent point, Max. And one of the things that we are changing in terms of our ability to add data is to actually just request from people, if you have a list of people who are providing telehealth services, and please, if you can, share it with us. We will actually take that data and work with it and research it to add it to Telehealth Connect. So we're trying to be a little more flexible in terms of, okay, do you have a list? Just give us that list in whatever format it is right now, and we'll roll with it. So I did want to, any other questions, Becky, at this point? I did want to have Max do something real quick, but
Sure. As we're getting ready to change speakers here, please go ahead and use the Q&A function at the bottom middle of the Zoom window to ask any questions for our panelists today.
So we're very lucky to have Max on our Telehealth Connect team now, and he has come up with we think is a very interesting idea and something that we would like to implement down the line. He's thought about and kind of sketched up a prototype to incentivize providers to add their data to our system. And I'm going to let him just talk about it. You don't necessarily have to show it, Max, if you don't want to, but just kind of talk a little bit about that.
Sure, we can try to show it. It might be a bit buggy. So thanks for the introduction, Steve. I'm fairly new to the Telehealth Connect team. In the meetings and discussions I've had so far, I've noticed that there wasn't really anything for patients to use. We've seen a lot of focus on Telehealth Connect as a very powerful tool for folks in TRCs and HRSA and other agencies to use to make sure that they're getting the most out of this data. But I really wanted to see what we could do for the patient. So Steve, maybe if you, instead of me taking over the screen, if you just want to go to that and go to /find.html, and fingers crossed this will work. This is something that we've put together in the past 48 hours. So it's very new. It's pretty buggy at this point, but this is something that we're going to be working on to get something into the hands of patients. So what you see here is just a very, very simple site. And you may have noticed when it loaded, it asked Steve to allow it to use his location. This works on a mobile device as well as a laptop or a desktop. Any browser will work. And when you go here, it's meant to allow the patient to just very quickly find the nearest telehealth provider that meets their specialty need. So that's it. It's a very, very simple concept. It was put together with its technology and the data that we've already developed with Telehealth Connect. And we're going to be refining this. We're going to have it in a new standalone place. It's not going to reside at telehealthconnect.org. We have a domain set up that will put it in. You can see certain things are missing here, but again, it's only 48 hours in development. So we need to focus on this. But this is something that we are going to market directly towards patients to make sure that they can very, very quickly see the benefit of the data that you can enter, that providers can enter, to make sure that patients can get the services they need.
This is Sandy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
A little bit of frog in my throat. I just want to make the point. I'm on the excuse me, Telehealth Connect team as well. We understand that you don't want individual people, patients or patients' families worried contacting the TRCs. But what you see here is a basic version where it looks for your location, either of your phone or your device, and this works, as Max said. But we're not giving them all the information. Security is obviously important. We want to protect the provider database. We want to keep the providers from being inundated with marketing material from vendors, and we want to keep patients or family members from calling the TRCs and directly. But with this approach, you'll see they see a subset of the data related to the facilities in their region. And what we're going to add, of course, is if somebody is in your region and they have a family member in Florida, they could type in a location or a zip code in Florida. We'll have those other filter options, but they'll still receive a subset of the data, not the complete information, and they will not be, harassing you. I assume the TRCs are not equipped to take a large number of calls from individuals. It's really designed to assist the regions and the providers in the regions to get up and running with sites and communicate among each other. But this is an approach we believe if more individuals are available, that providers would be encouraged to put their data in Telehealth Connect, knowing that patients might use it to find their services. So I just wanted to make that point because I know there's a lot of sensitivity around security and protecting people from too much overt marketing material. So I'll stop talking now.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. And that actually provides me a little bit of segue to talk about some of the other developments that we're working on. So first and foremost is data integrity and security. You can see here just on the first result, you can see that the URL is wrong. That's obviously not an actual website. So there's a bunch of work to do on our side, but with help from TRCs and from providers to help clean up and provide more accurate information. We really want to have a system where we can efficiently audit and verify the data that's put into the system, make sure that we take as much data as we possibly can and keep it secure. So we should only be giving detailed information to those who are authorized to see it. The rest of the general public will only see, the basic information. And we feel this is basic enough, just the name, the address, the website, and some specialty information. And that's it. We're not going to be giving email addresses out and other information that may be sensitive. We really, this application was really just meant to enable a patient to find their nearest telehealth provider. Yeah. So those are the things that we're going to be working very hard on in the next couple of weeks and beyond. We're really going to make sure that you'll see in the future coming up that for some things you'll have to log in, provide information. To add data, you'll have to provide an email address that will verify, that will know ahead of time. We don't want people coming in from anywhere and being able to just add or alter information in the system. That's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that it's controlled, it's auditable, and we can verify it and it's secure.
Excellent, Max. So as just kind of, if you will, imagine to incentivize a provider to add their data. Imagine if you are a patient and you have your smartphone and you enable location services, you can utilize a tool like this to find telehealth providers within a distance of where you live. And this can be both in a rural and an urban area. So we think this is a potential idea, and it's still an idea, for helping build our database in the upper Midwest for Telehealth Connect. All right, I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint and talk a little bit about some of the benefits. So if you're a provider or if you are a CEO of a clinic or a hospital or health system, the Telehealth Connect offers free promotion of a facility's telehealth services. It also helps to identify potential specialty care gaps just based on being able to show that landscape of telehealth. Simple visualizations and reportings, which I demonstrated before. The patient referral piece is important. You can quickly export and spreadsheets and maps, and then we have our production, and we're in a secure SSL environment at www.telehealthconnect.org. And at this point, we're at 1:41. I will open it up for questions, as well as if Sandy or Max wanted to add anything additional. But let's start with any questions that may be coming up at this point.
Thanks, guys. So again, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen there in the middle. While we're waiting for questions, I just want to thank you guys, Sandy and Max and Steve, especially for putting this together. I think this database is extremely useful. It's just going to take time and effort to get it populated.
Yep, and we understand that. We've only been rolling about 8 months, but we're currently in a push to make things happen with regard to a much larger database.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me go back to telehealthconnect.org. So we've got, as you can see, we're populated from Alaska all the way to Maine down to Florida, and we've got some areas like that have been able to get data loaded, and a lot of this is through spreadsheets. Let's say the South Central TRC is one of our more populated regions, and they have 357 facilities right now. Mississippi's done an initiative with regard, University of Mississippi's done an initiative with telehealth. They got some funding, so they've been a big contributor so far to some of our work.
Well, it doesn't look like we've got any questions. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to share today?
Sandy, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. I hope that I think it was a good introduction to what we're doing, but we are certainly very interested in input from people as people start to use it. The whole point of this is to do something and create something that's useful to all the regions individually, because each region has different needs and different characteristics, but also to the consortium as a whole. And one of the things to think about, obviously don't have to answer it. We're not doing it right now, but in terms of content management, we could maybe create an environment where it might save people some time and energy maintaining their unique nature, regional nature, but at the same time, when there's federal or state regulatory material that might be of interest, have it in one place without too much redundancy. So in the back of your head, think about your wish list is not just for this kind of an approach, but also for content management. It's rapidly changing. We all know visibility about the additional funding and what the VA is doing and so on. So there's exciting stuff happening, and we hope to help make it easier for people to do their jobs and free up a lot more time and energy, since we know everybody is quite overwhelmed with work at this point. So I'll stop there, but we're excited to be working with you and look forward to making this sing.
Excellent points, Sandy. We've got quite a bit of different things that we're exploring to expand. One thing that I would like to suggest from the audience, and they don't have to do it now, but if they've got ideas on how this could be improved or how this could be of improved use for an individual or for whoever, we're happy to take that advice. And we're the collective three of us are much more IT oriented people, and you, most of you are more on the front lines as well as in the policy side of telehealth. So our perspective isn't, your perspective is very important to us.
Thank you. I just wanted to note to everyone that I've put in a webinar survey in the chat. If you would complete that, we certainly appreciate that feedback on our ongoing webinar. So if you have suggestions on further webinars, please submit those as well. And as I indicated when we got started this morning, we will be taking the recording and putting it out on our YouTube page, and we'll be sending the link out for that when that's updated. So at this point, if there are no further questions, then we'll go ahead and end today's session. I thank you all for your attendance, and the folks from GeoHealth, thank you certainly for all the many, many hours of work that has gone into this particular website and database.
Thank you, Becky.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.